Welcome back, Fragrance Fiend here this month doing something a tiny bit different. I'm going to be cycling through 5 different city exclusive scents. These are the 5 which are most easily accessible to me, and I'm also ordering a sample of something else quite special. But today I'm going to be reviewing Cedrat 37. I've done a few first impressions this month already, and it's fun to blindly get my nose on something and judge it from a very first impression, but I'm going to be doing a few more reviews where I talk more in depth about the actual fragrance for those people who want a little more information other than a first impression. So number 37 joined the collection in 2021, and the city for this one is Berlin. If you're not already aware, September is the only month you can get all these scents around the world, otherwise you have to go to their dedicated city, this one being Berlin. The perfume is Daphne Bugey. I'm not too sure how to say her name, but she's done quite a few Labos, including the very popular Rose 31, and a ton of other freshies from the brand, such as Bergamot, and surprisingly Tonka 25 as well. Plus a few other favourites like Much Do the Duke and Roaring Radcliffe by Penhaligon's, which I love. So here's what the brand have to say about it with a glimpse of the note breakdown. This one is a delicate balance of Cedrat and ginger, fresh, acidic, and with an addictive candied sweetness, resting on a foundation of sensual Labo-ness, which often means woods, musk, and a generous note of ambergris. If it were a city, it would feel like Berlin, embracing a joyous, thick-skinned, and soul of freedom. Even when it rains, do you beg to differ? We hope you do. Let's smell it first. And that we will. Such a striking opening, just incredibly fresh, crisp. I know I said the same about coriander, but it really doesn't stray too far. Not in the official note breakdown, but I really get a bit of bitter orange in there, quite similar to Aquamedia Cologne Forte by MFK. It's both dry, sharp, extremely citrusy. It feels like a close relative to Bergamot 22, but different at the same time. There's a lot of nuances between the two, but they would layer incredibly together. So if you weren't aware, Cedrat is obviously in the citrus category. It is kind of lemony, yet unique in itself. It really does open up like a summer cocktail. You've got quite a bit of an overdose of ginger in this. When I sprayed it earlier, it became really prominent in the humidity. Now that's a little cooler at night, the scent is actually a little more evenly blended. It's funny how the temperature can actually manipulate how a scent will dry down as well. It's far from a complex scent, it's a lot more simpler than coriander, which I reviewed the other day, but still such a striking scent. The opening is just quite intense. It also smells extremely natural as well, which is what you expect of Le Labo, that high quality essential oils, which are much more reminiscent of the actual thing they're trying to replicate or capture a scent from. I mentioned earlier that it started as a cocktail, but when it dries down it becomes more like an iced tea, still quite cold, with a tiny bit of an abrasive nature, but then you get those more sweeter elements slowly coming out. It also has the same dry down time as coriander. You'll often find with perfumes with a high percentage of perfume oil, it does take a little longer for those opening notes to evaporate, which is always a good sign when you're paying top dollar for a niche luxury scent. When I smelled that dry down for the very first time, I thought it could go one of two ways. Ginger is such a hard note to get right in perfumery, you really have to put the right amount in. My favourite use is probably in Oud and Overdose by Xerjoff. If anything, this one probably has a tiny bit too much. It is winter here at the moment, so I'm quite curious to see how that play out in a much more humid temperature. Not necessarily a drawback for this scent, but it's just something I'm not personally fully into, but the rest of the scent I absolutely love. Then as a few more minutes pass, the musks and woods creep in. They haven't been totally transparent on which woods or what specific musks they were. I mean, they did mention ambergris in this one, and you definitely get a tiny bit of that in there as well. There's really not a whole lot of other details I can go into about this scent in particular. I mean, it's perfect summer scent. It's clean, fresh, zesty, very crisp. I think it's quite likable and obviously blind buy safe if you're willing to spend $810 for 100ml. Here are the prices in Australian dollars. If you want to hear a little bit more about the whole city exclusive collection and the pricing and my justification for them, then go into my coriander video and you'll be able to hear a lot more about it in there. I really delve into that in the 7-minute video, opposed to this quick little review here. It's definitely one worth checking out, but to me this one doesn't really justify the price tag. It's a very simplistic scent, and I simply think there's a lot more out on the market, or a lot more in the city exclusive collection range that are worth picking up instead of this one, unless this is your type of fragrance. My Bergamot 22 pretty much has this category covered, and I can get 100ml of the Bergamot cheaper than a 50ml of the Cedrat. Weird comparison, but it really does smell like a luxury hotel or restaurant or casino, and you're just met with that very light cocktail-like scent. As for performance, it's definitely above average in contrast to its counterparts in the whole fresher or citrus category, but in the Le Labo collection it's probably a little more dialed back. I actually get more longevity of my Bergamot 22. Anyway, that was just a quick one today. Be sure to tune in next time for Mer 55. If you haven't already, I've also got my Tobacco 28 video from last year. I'll see you next time.